La, 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 wait till I get my money right. La, 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 then you can't tell me nothing, right?
I Love B43 asks, why are houses so expensive? Houses are really expensive right now. Number one, it's a supply and demand issue. The US is short about 4 million homes to meet the current demand, and a scarcity of any commodity means the price goes up, up, up.
In recent years, the American dream of owning a home has turned into a waking nightmare for millions. While the Great Depression of 1929 is remembered as the ultimate economic low point, and the 2008 housing crisis brought a wave of foreclosures, 2024 quietly delivered something far worse: a perfect storm of soaring cost, stagnant wages, and an uncertain future. So how did we get here? Let's rewind back to January of 2021. Mortgage rates for a 30-year fixed-rate loan was at a historic low of 2.65%, while the average home price was around $346,400. A monthly mortgage payment, including principal, interest, property taxes, and homeowners insurance, at that rate would have been $1,750. Fast forward to December of 2024, rates have jumped to a staggering 6.7%, and the average home price skyrocketed to $420,800. With those increases, the mortgage payment for that same home is now $3,200 a month, meaning you'd be paying $1,450 more per month and $17,400 more per year for that same home that someone did just 4 years ago. And wages? They've barely moved. This isn't just a housing market, it's a pressure cooker, and the lid has blown completely off.
At Scotty ZS says, how the did my parents buy a house at 26 years old while I have $2,000 in my bank account? I feel your pain, Scotty ZS. Really, things are much different for millennials than they were for boomers. When boomers were reaching the age to buy a home around the late 80s, early 90s, if you made about $50,000 a year, the average home at that point was about $121,000. So that's really only about a 2 times increase from your income. There is a little bit of a dip here following the 2008 recession, but it increased dramatically since. The median home price increased by 43%, where the median income only increased by 7%. The average right now in the United States is a home price that is about 6 times the median income. If you think about very expensive places like the California coast or New York City, that can be about 11 times the median income.
Now, let's address a factor that often goes overlooked when buying a home, but has the power to upend everything: natural disasters.
This crestline cabin in the San Bernardino Mountains is where Gigi Bannister and her husband had always dreamed of retiring. But one thing they weren't expecting, their homeowners insurance dropped them in 2019, Gigi says, leaving them with few options and a much bigger bill.
My mortgage is now over $2,000 a month. $1,600 of it is insurance. I don't know how you call that fair, but it's sure as hell not the American way, and it's not the American dream.
Bruce Breslow says his Chatsworth HOA community of 290 owners was dropped from their insurer after 20 years, having to turn to an unregulated option.
We have 50% of the coverage we had last year. However, the premium went from $349,000 to a whopping $1.7 million. That's a 400% increase.
Experts say factors like wildfires have sent the state's homeowners insurance market into crisis.
As she mentioned, it's not just borrowing rates that are climbing. Property insurance is also on the rise. Everyone's been seeing it, especially if you're in an area that's been hard hit by natural disasters. The average mortgage payment just hit a record $2,070 in August. And with Hurricane Milton, now a Category 5 storm, barreling toward Florida less than 2 weeks after Helene caused billions of dollars in damage, it's unlikely these insurance costs will come down anytime soon. Joining us to talk more about that, Andy Walden is Vice President of Enterprise Research at ICE. Andy, it's good to see you. How much is insurance up kind of from the trough?
Yeah, if you look from 4.5 years ago, if we kind of start at the beginning of the pandemic, the average property insurance payment for a single family homeowner in the U.S. is up about 52% from where it was 4.5 years ago. It's much more significant than the average principal interest and tax rise of, 15 to 17% among folks. So it's 3 times the rise that you're seeing in property insurance versus some of these other expenses.
So home insurance costs are basically...
When there's the annual maintenance and repair costs that come with a new home, expenses can quickly pile up and become a major source of stress, especially if you don't have the funds to cover them. According to Thumbtack's Home Care Price Index in 2024, the average annual cost to maintain a single-family home was $10,147. That figure includes essential maintenance tasks, such as HVAC servicing, gutter cleaning, and appliance repairs. The data was collected from over 2 million projects on Thumbtack over the last 2 years. The rise in cost is driven by factors like aging homes, extreme weather, inflation, and increased material and labor expenses. Soaring property taxes has also become a crushing burden for homeowners. As home values soar, taxes climb even higher, driving monthly payments to levels many families simply can't afford. For some, these tax assessments feel less like fair evaluations of their home's value and more like aggressive cash grabs by local governments. The result? Countless families are now facing an antagonizing question. Can they hold on to the homes they've worked so hard for, or is their dream of stability and security slipping away?
Homeowners are getting hit with crazy property tax bills right now, with $775,000 houses now having to pay as much as $16,000 a year in property taxes. In fact, the property taxes in America have increased so much that Americans are now paying over $341 billion in taxes per year, which is 70% more than what they were paying a decade ago. And this problem is especially bad in certain states, everyone, particularly in New Jersey, Illinois, Connecticut, New Hampshire, and Vermont. In some of these states, you're paying as much as 2% of your home value per year to the local tax district, which means if you own a $500,000 house in some of these states, your annual tax bill is $10,000 per year.
The perils of property taxes taking a toll on Tamar Ransom. She bought her Winter Haven home last May, but less than a year later, it's on the market after receiving an unwelcome surprise.
I felt like I'd been baited and switched. When you buy a house, I see the taxes at $2,700. I expect it'll vary a little bit, a few hundred, $1,000, but in no way did I expect it would go up 174%.
Many new homeowners faced this sticker shock when they received their trim notices with their new assessed home value. Those bills were due at the end of March. You have been doing what you can to try to make this work.
It's very upsetting because I put most of my savings into the house, the down payment and the things, alarm systems and things like that. And I'm losing all of that because I have to sell the house and I'm not going to get really anything back. And then I have to look for a new house.
These historically high increases are hitting homeowners already hammered by escalating insurance costs and lingering inflation. Bottom line, get ready to budget hundreds, if not thousands of dollars more because local governments say they need it and aren't taking no for an answer. In Harris County, property tax bills are out. And as Fox 26 was the first to forecast, they are punishing.
To be sticking this kind of tax increase on top of people is unconscionable, and somebody ought to pay the price for doing this.
Bill King, Fox 26 contributor and fellow at Rice University's Baker Institute, was the first to sound the alarm.
This is going to hurt people sort of in the middle class the most. They're the ones that are on the tightest budgets.
His analysis of an average homeowner's 2025 tax bill is shocking. A 25% hike from Harris County, 19% increase from Houston ISD, 15% from HCC, and a comparatively modest 10% hike from the city of Houston. The total hickey for this household, 18%. A perfect storm of higher home appraisal and jacked up rates from local governments.
This is 1 year, Greg. This is not over a 5-year period. This is 1 year. Now, I'm pretty sure that this person probably didn't get an 18% raise last year.
Our taxes are too damn high already.
We caught up with South Park Super Neighborhood President Travis McGee at the Shack on Reed Road. He says very few folks in Sunnyside can absorb this kind of hit.
It's a big wake-up call. We about to get priced out. Being a homeowner and a business owner has always been the American dream, but these taxes make it the American nightmare.
Now let's have a look at someone struggling to break into the housing market, despite having no debt and a solid family income. She shares how, even with careful planning, the dream of home ownership remains painfully out of reach for her and her family.
There's something very wrong with the housing market right now, and I'll use my family's real numbers as an example. So we bring in for our household over $150,000 a year, which I feel like is a lot of money for the average person. I mean, it is based on what the average family makes, okay? We live in Massachusetts. It's a high cost of living state. The average cost of a house right now is $640,000. We are currently renting, and we are interested in buying a house soon. If we were to buy a house now for $640,000, the average cost, the house would cost us $4,000 a month for our mortgage alone. That doesn't include utilities or maintenance. And if you add in utilities and maintenance, which utilities are really high here, we've been paying $500 a month or so on average this year. You call it $5,000 a month for total housing costs. That would be over 50% of our take-home pay on housing costs. We literally cannot afford to buy a house making $150,000 a year, and we are debt-free. We have no debt. How is, what?
So what do the numbers tell us about the cost of comfortably affording a home across the country in today's real estate climate? Let's start in Houston, where the median home price is approximately $348,200. To purchase a home at this price while covering your mortgage, property taxes, and insurance, and still leaving room for other expenses and savings, you'd need an annual income of at least $99,000. Moving east to Atlanta, where home prices rise to a median of $354,695, your household would need to make about $103,289 annually. Now, contrast that with West Virginia, one of the most affordable states for housing. With median home prices of $155,491, an annual salary of $47,405 would get you in the door comfortably. But in high-cost regions like San Francisco, where the median home price is a jaw-dropping $1,088,519, the required income skyrockets to $302,677. Similar numbers apply to New York City, where home affordability is almost a foreign concept. Yet, even for those who do achieve the so-called American dream of home ownership, the reality can feel more like a trap. Rising costs, taxes, and maintenance leave many grappling with the bitter truth. The dream can quickly turn into buyer's remorse.
82% of recent homebuyers said they regret their purchase, with 44% saying they've had to take on additional debt to maintain their standard of living.
Just because a person may own a valuable home doesn't necessarily mean that they're financially set. There are other costs associated to maintaining that property.
Unfortunately, a lot of people go into buying a home and they don't understand that their monthly payment could change.
So, with all the chaos and uncertainty surrounding home ownership, countless people are desperately seeking alternatives. The most obvious choice, renting. Yet, in today's harsh times specifically, we all know just how out of reach even that option has become.
How are we supposed to buy a house when my rent is going up another $195 a month? It has gone up $720 in 4 years for the same place that I live in. $8,640 a year more for the same place I lived in 4 years ago. I'm sorry, property taxes are not going up that much that landlords are charging that much more. We have to stop blaming the economy, the government, the president. It is greedy people taking more profits in. When people tell you, just move somewhere else, why would I move to another state that's cheaper? Why should I have to uproot my family, lose my career, just to afford to live somewhere? You're implying people who live in where I live now don't deserve a fair shot at cost of living. And places with cheaper rent pay lower salaries. That's how this whole thing works for the most part. And my girlfriend's a teacher. Like, if she moves to a state with a cheaper cost of living, she might not even have a pension or her benefits anymore. Instead of telling the middle class to keep, looking somewhere cheaper, why don't you all align together and get people out of control that are doing this to us? You are always closer to being homeless than you are to being rich. Everyone just assumes one day they're going to get rich. And that's why they don't stand up for people just like them in the struggle right now. If not for the raise I got 4 years ago, I would be totally screwed. I don't even want to hand out or help. I just want things to not be so crazy expensive every year. Go buy pizza from where I work. Go buy my merchandise. I don't know. Not a handout, just advertising.
No. I did not agree to that.
You did, actually, and there's a rental agreement that you signed.
Hello?
Hey, how's it going? I just wanted to discuss with you the rent for next year.
What about it?
Well, I just thought I'd remind you that it's going to go up by $100 a month.
Wait, what? Why?
Well, that's the standard yearly rent increase. It states in your lease that it goes up $100 each year.
No, I did not agree to that.
You did actually, and there's a rental agreement that you signed.
That's not fair. I am not paying another $100 every month.
So if you didn't want to do that, you shouldn't have signed the lease and agreed to move in the first place.
Well, it's not happening. Either you keep the rent the same or something bad's going to happen at this place.
What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, don't you worry about it. You're going to find out what it means when you jack the rent up.
So why is rent still so outrageously high? Is it simply a case of not enough supply for the amount of demand, with too many renters chasing too few properties? Or is there something deeper, perhaps more troubling, at play?
Right? And then you go to the next chart and you look at what BlackRock and these other guys are doing. This is deeply concerning. Watch this. This is what the investors like BlackRock and others used to invest in homes, all these other things. And the orange is low price homes they would buy. Green is mid price. Blue is high price. Look at the one they're buying. They don't care about mid price. They don't care about high price. They're buying low price. And now one out of every 4 low price homes is owned by an investor like BlackRock. You think they're buying it because they want to flip?
No.
They're not trying to flip. They're trying to say, we're in a rental season, guys. Forget about buying a house. Just come and rent from us. We're going to keep this long term. And by the way,
by 2030, it is estimated that 60% of single-family homes are going to be owned by those 3 corporations, State Street, Vanguard, and BlackRock. They are manipulating the system so that they will end up having all the inventory. I feel like we're entering into this world where we're all just going to be like serf peasants, living and not being able to afford homeownership and having to be renters. And then all you have to do is remove protections from renters, and then you have slaves essentially, because if you don't own property and you have to pay rent and there's no rent control, it's what are you going to do then?
Jamie and Yetta, this new federal lawsuit accuses the real estate software company RealPage of price fixing to undermine market competition, driving up rent for struggling families. Here in Arizona, rent is up 30% over the last 2 years, and Attorney General Mays says it's mainly because of this price-fixing conspiracy. Investigators say landlords agreed to share confidential proprietary numbers and then colluded to set the highest rent possible. The DOJ says that industry algorithm controls 80% of the market, meaning millions of apartments are overcharging their tenants simply because they can.
So as housing costs keep climbing through the roof, many are scrambling for alternatives like tiny homes, shipping container houses, ADUs, yurts, and RVs. And yeah, they sound innovative and affordable at first glance, but let's cut through the hype and get real. They come with their own headaches and price tags that aren't always obvious. Let's start with tiny homes. Sure, you can grab a basic prefab model for as little as $4,000, but that's essentially a shell. If you want one with actual livable features, you're looking at $80,000 or more. Going the custom build route? That'll run you anywhere from $50,000 to $140,000, depending on how big and fancy you want it. And don't forget, putting it on a foundation will tack on another $6,000 to $9,000. Add in land costs, utility hookups, and permits, and suddenly your affordable tiny house isn't so tiny when it comes to expenses. Now, shipping container homes are trendy and durable, but they're not as budget-friendly as you might think. A single container setup starts at $25,000, but a multi-container home with all the bells and whistles can hit $250,000 or more. And then come the extras: land, insulation, plumbing, electrical work, and those costs add up fast. And here's the kicker: zoning laws can completely derail your plan. Not every city or country allows these as permanent homes, so you could spend a fortune and still not be able to live there legally. Next, accessory dwelling units, or ADUs, or granny flats. They're a great idea for rental income or housing family members, but they're not cheap either. Building one can cost anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000, depending on size and features. Plus, it's not as simple as popping one up in your backyard. Many cities heavily regulate ADUs, and some outright ban them in single-family lots. Add in permits and utility hookups, and you're looking at a hefty bill. How about yurts? They're cool, minimalist, and great for rural or off-grid living. Basic ones start at $10,000, while high-end models can hit $50,000. But let's face it, Yurts aren't built for harsh winters or extreme weather. Most places classify them as temporary structures, so don't expect to set one up in an urban area without running into zoning issues. They're better for a vacation spot than permanent living. And finally, there's the dream of RV living. Freedom on wheels, right? Basic towable units start at $15,000 and pre-owned options go as low as $10,000. But don't forget about maintenance, repairs, insurance, and RV park fees, which can run $400 to $1,200 a month. And if you think you can park it anywhere, think again. Many neighborhoods and cities have strict rules on how long RVs can stay in one spot, making them less viable for long-term living. At the end of the day, these alternatives might seem like a solution to the housing crisis, but they come with legal hurdles, hidden costs, and practical challenges that make them feel less feasible for many people. If you're considering one of these options, do your homework. Check local regulations, calculate all the extra expenses, and be realistic about whether it'll work for you. The truth is, living in the US is more expensive than ever, and unless there's serious change at the policy level, affordable housing, better wages, and fairer regulations, these solutions are just band-aids on a much bigger problem. Thanks for watching, folks, and take care.